Well, because you can ask an AI about Machiavelli and the Prince and like all that stuff and have it comment on any topic that you give it. And it's like having access to a college professor office hours one-on-one where you can just ask it about any topic and you have this time and you'll learn so much. Now, one of the problems I see with AI is people tend to just ask it a question and take the answer, and then they're like, the AI told me to do this. That's not, in my opinion, the value of AI. The value of AI, especially the chatbots, is having an in-depth conversation and doing the back and forth and getting it to give you perspectives and drilling deeper and having it respond and go different angles. It's like having that professor that's just willing to talk through all this stuff. It's like the analogy I would use with AI. It's like a librarian, like that never leaves the library and just knows all the books. It doesn't have like a real good understanding of the outside world unless you tell it, but it knows where all the information is and it has this broad understanding. It can go any different direction with you, but you need to direct it down a path of something that is valuable to your situation.
The goal should be to for you to get the knowledge out of it, right? Not just for it to tell you to take an action and you just follow that action blindly.
Correct. You shouldn't be seeking an answer. You should be seeking
a partner,
a way of thinking, or some knowledge.
Should question your thinking, challenge your thinking.
Correct.
Or help you think in any way.
How are you leveraging it right now? Just out of us three, I would be curious to know.
I mean, a lot of different ways. I definitely use it in like problem solving. It's kind of talking through it in terms of how I think a good way to solve a problem would be, and for it to find like flaws, right? Whether that's related to finances or operationally, even in terms of like operational efficiency. I know that's such like a corporate word, but just telling it, hey, this is how we solve these problems today, right? And I see that there's gaps here because these particular things are not getting solved, right? Like, how would you go about doing this? And whatever kind of its idea is, challenging that, right? Like, have you thought about this case or this use case, right? And kind of making sure that, like you said, I'm treating it as like an expert that's there consulting me and almost helping me make decisions. But at the same time, it's not AI's decision. It's helping me make decisions by educating me on all the things that I didn't think about, right? Now, there's like a lot simpler things, like just in terms of, improving even something as simple as improving the way we onboard our field employees, right? Like, that's an experience that you got to have. Maybe a similar way would be like, how do you handle the M&A piece, right? How are you coordinating all these different components? Is there an easier way or a more efficient way? Because everybody's very emotional, right? In my field, it's, we're dealing with humans, so there's constant changes, constant kind of emotions that get involved. So making sure that everybody's alert and everybody knows what their roles and responsibilities are, and just filling in those gaps, right? That's where AI has been like really helpful for me.
It's one way I like to think about it, in which also highlights its limitations, is it embodies the entire corpus of written human knowledge. Now, one of the things is we don't write about everything. Some things we just take for granted. Like we can get into computer vision as one of the challenges I think behind computer vision, despite the advances in AI, is that we don't talk about how we see and interact with the world, because we learn that before we learn how to speak. So when you see a 1 or 2 year old, playing with blocks and understanding like, this is my face, and when I do this, I'm hitting myself in the face, or this thing's there, and like just understanding the physical world, none of that is in language. You have no language to really explain any of that because you learned it before you had language. And so then none of that exists in our corpus of knowledge that an AI or anything can read. And so we're trying to teach AI to do these very fundamental things that we don't have words for. And so
I saw a video. This guy was having a fight with his girlfriend, and he's using ChatGPT. How do I make sure she's not mad at me? She's not upset at me.
Well, Tommy, I want to know how are you using it? I want to know how you use it.
Is this connected to this relationship piece?
I'm pretty sure whatever you saw.
That guy was Tommy.
that guy that you read was Tommy for sure.
No, but how do you use it? How do your parents use it? Maybe like, do you what do you find interesting about just?
to not be like super joking, about this, exactly what Sujan says is something that I would use it for sure. I'll use it for everything. I mean, I don't use Google anymore. I don't use basically all the other sort of tools that I would have. I don't use. I only use AI. AI is my search engine. AI is if I'm feeling like I just want to talk through things with somebody, I'll use not even the chatbot, I'll use like the voice.
Yeah.
And the voice is getting crazy realistic. Like I have it to like this like hot girl voice. And like, I mean, she's talking to me and I'm like, damn, I mean, me and her are like best friends now.
That's funny.
You're drooling.
I mean, and what's so cool about the voice part too is that they'll stop, they'll make breaks, they'll like act like they'll stutter.
They'll listen to you.
They'll listen to me. But they'll.
It's like, I'm not used to this.
No, but the voice is not even like perfect robotic. Like sometimes they'll take pauses, it'll stutter, it'll do these things where it's like it even blows me away. Where it's like, whoa, like this sounds real. But to answer your question, I'll use it for everything.
Well, what do you use exactly? Like which one?
I use ChatGPT voice. Like,
Yeah, so I started.
I heard Tamiem have like full on conversations in the car. Like, hey man, I'm thinking about this. And then he just like completely switches to a separate topic.
My dad would get mad at me because he's like, you're ordering a pizza. You don't have to like use ChatGPT. And I'm like, no, I got to. I have to ask it about everything. Like,
Is pineapple on pizza good?
Yeah. The Grok 4 came out last week, and they had a whole like live stream event. And one of the things that they rolled out was the ability for the voice mode to like whisper or to like change cadence or like to sing opera. It just has like a little bit more kind of layers to it. And I was messing with it in bed while I was in Colorado on vacation. I was like just like messing with it.
You were in bed with Grok.
I was in bed with Grok. My girlfriend was getting ready for bed.
Level.
She was.
Did your girlfriend know you were in bed with Grok?
My girlfriend listened. So my girlfriend was in getting ready. She's taking a shower, getting ready for bed. I already was like in a full blown kind of conversation, just messing with it because it just released, and I was having so much fun. And she like got into bed, put her like night mask on, was getting ready to go to sleep, and I had it like wait, like I was waiting for her to get ready to go to bed because I had like the last prompt ready to go, and I told it to whisper to me, "You're the goat. Get good sleep." And so she laid down, and all of a sudden Grok goes, "You're the goat. Good night. Get some good sleep." And she like looked over at me, and she's like, "You're so full of yourself." And I was like, "Oh, it feels so good to have someone to just make you feel good about yourself." But
That's awesome.
What that I've been thinking about lately is if you go through the history of at least ChatGPT, it's like very personal information. Like it can get like if somebody goes through it, like my brother like has access to my ChatGPT, like he's my brother, but if he goes through it, I might be like, yo, you're getting into like deep territory about like stuff that I'm asking you.
Dude,
know?
I share all my logins. I'm not sharing my ChatGPT login for that reason.
So it's funny you guys bring that up because I was on LinkedIn and some leader was asking like, hey, I forget what it was. They did a poll of do you journal?
yeah,
And my immediate thought was, well, does my ChatGPT conversations, does that count? Because it's
For
kind
sure.
of like journaling.
that's
For
exactly
sure.
right.
Because I'm like you guys, I use it for everything. It could
Yeah.
be like, this is funny, at my apartment, someone parked in my parking spot.
Yeah.
So I came home on a Friday after like it was late, and I'm like, and someone's in my spot. I'm like, this is whatever. So I left them a note like, hey, I pay for this
old
spot.
guy came out.
Anger came out.
And then I go home and I look at my email. There's an email from my apartment saying, hey, you're parked illegally in a spot. And I'm like, wait a minute. This spot's on my lease. Like, what, you're threatening to tow my vehicle? So I'm like, ChatGPT, like, tell me about like, one, am I too pissed off about this? Like, give me some emotional coaching. And then number two, like, tell me my legal standing. Like, what do I when I go to the office tomorrow? Like, what can I like? Give me some like lawyerly advice on how to deal with this.
Yeah.
And so there's that. But then an hour before that, I was using it to vibe code, like where I was cranking out. Basically a communication protocol for like a front end that was on top of an agentic AI. Like, so I was doing that. It's amazing the range of capabilities.
The level of complexity, right? From something simple to something super complex, and how good it's getting at doing more complex things, and how good it's getting at the more simple things too at the same time. Do you have, I know we talked about this before we started recording, but between the different offerings from the different companies, like do you have any opinions or perspective on like if one's better than the other, or if they're all the same, or they keep kind of pushing the benchmark forward in terms of which one's better than the next? Is there any kind of perspective there?
It's a good question, and it constantly comes up, and it harkens back to what I was talking about before, where a lot of the value you get out of AI is going to be depending on what you put into it, right? And so model to model, they're pretty similar, and the capabilities change week to week. So if I told you ChatGPT 4.0 is the best, then next week Grok's going to be the best, and then Cloud's going to be the best, and it just changes so often that I debate this, right? Is it ever worth switching? Because it feels to me that the more context I give to ChatGPT 4.0, especially now that it has memory and it can look at all the different conversations, like the better it gets. And I was messing around with Grok, and like it obviously doesn't have any of that context, and I was not particularly happy with what it was telling me. And so I think to some degree, it's not really which model you choose. It's how much effort do you put into using it and learning it and giving it context and figuring out where to apply it. And it's really interesting, the conversation you guys are having about how you talk to it. I never talk to it. I always type, which is probably bad. Like I probably need to get into the mode of speaking to it, because then I'll use it more and in more situations.
So I was driving the other day, and my whole drive was just a conversation with Grok. Like the whole time I was driving, and it was obviously, when you're driving, it's a lot easier to speak to it than to write into it. But so your kind of advice almost is kind of stick to one, right? Because you'll get more out of it if you're sticking to one, versus, because people don't know. People are like, should I try this one? Should I do this one? Oh, it's a new one coming out. It's a new one. Like, people don't, like, the everyday person doesn't understand what the best way is to leverage.
I would say if flipping between the different models means you never spend enough time with one to give it a lot of context, that's bad. If you're switching and you're giving it like the amount of due effort that it needs to become good, then yeah. And if you're doing a specific task and you're like, hey, I just want to know which one is the best at coding Python right now, and I haven't done a ton of that with the one then yeah, go figure out the best one. But I think it's really more about how much effort are you putting into working with the tool than which tool happens to be the best this week.
Cool. So in terms of, the way you're positioned, right, Greg, where you're working for a consulting firm that's, was heavy in data, has taken on M&A and other traditional consulting type of responsibilities as in terms of an organization. How is AI impacting your firm specifically, and even broader? How is it, from your point of view, impacting the kind of market in different organizations altogether?
It's a big question. Some of the immediate stuff, like that it impacts the economy and jobs and things, is individual people can do way more. If they're using AI and they're savvy with using AI, they can be far more productive than they used to be, which means the teams get smaller and the teams go faster. And if you're doing solving the same problem with a smaller team and faster, you're generating less revenue as a consulting company. So that is an issue that consulting companies need to figure out. The flip side, the counteracting force to that, is I can deliver more value, right? If I can do smaller teams, I can do things faster, then I can ultimately provide more value. And so I should be able to do more projects, right? And then equal out the revenue conversation. I think the struggle is companies like our clients are still trying to figure out AI and how do they do that, and governance and risks and all the different things, because it is not an easy button by any means. Like, sometimes I think AI gets characterized as it's just the easy button. You press the button and then suddenly nobody has jobs and AI is doing everything. And that's really not reality. Any AI application still has all the trimmings of traditional software development. You need to, set up APIs, set up databases. You have to build front ends. You have to do all these different things and run a project, all under the assumption that you're trying to solve the right problem from the get-go. Like, I can't tell you the number of projects or things that I've seen or heard about where someone said, "Hey, we need to do some of this AI stuff. Go do something." People go running down a path and it's not valuable. And then they suddenly go, we were 3 months into this thing and we probably need to reframe it and rescope it and redefine what we're trying to do because we didn't pick the right problem. So all those things exist, and I think everybody's grappling with, what can AI do? Where can it provide value? How do I queue these things up in order to extract that value? So there's a gap between, hey, suddenly everybody's more efficient because it can make me as a person more efficient, but we haven't organizationally figured out where are all the best places we can apply it, and stacking up these projects so that we can do, we have the organizations are slower to adjust than the individuals. And so there's this lag that I think you're going to see for a while, where the number of consulting jobs and things or any jobs are going to somewhat get reduced because individuals are more productive, but then organizations haven't realized this new pace that they can do to make up that gap.
Do you think people should protect themselves or better qualify themselves for positions by getting good at every single AI tool, or just getting good at one? Like, should somebody focus on ChatGPT, or should they get good at all of them? And that's what question one. Question two is like, do you see companies, sort of being like, hey, we're only going to be using ChatGPT, or like get good at Excel, don't get good at numbers, in terms of stuff like that?
I would say, for the individual person, get good at one. Like the same thing we were talking about before is like using one and getting good at it and using it to its full capability is more important than being like okay at a bunch of them, because they are kind of the same. Like if you look at Grok's interface, you look at ChatGPT's, they're exactly the same. It's oddly similar. I'm like, come on, guys, can somebody do something a little different? Like as a person who has designed UIs before and is literally building different types of UIs to go on those things to make them more capable, I'm kind of like, there's a lack of imagination in these UIs, and it can't do things I wish it could do. And I'm having to build those myself. So that aside, to answer your question, I would say you don't need to know all of them. There's no way to know all of them. There's so many. So pick ones that you like, be aware of them, but get good at one. Be aware of what's going on, and be aware of, if for some reason the one you're working with is not getting the investment or not as advancing and you need to switch, you should be aware of that landscape. But get good at one. And then the big thing is, we all know this, is if you're not using AI consistently in your job, that is a problem. Because those of us that are, we're just that much more efficient. We are just that much better at our jobs. Like I can knock out stuff in an afternoon that used to take me days. And so when it comes to like my annual performance plan, like I can get way more of that stuff done in way less time and just be a better employee and a better leader. So that's the one constant, is if you're not investing the time to figure these things out and use them as much as you can, that's a problem for you.
What do you think about within AI? So I think historically, we always go through these times where different groups of people become superstars, right? We went through like right now, professional athletes, they get paid like this insane amount of money, right? Like some of the highest paid people in the world. There's a new group of people emerging, in streamers that we're going to talk to in a little bit. Like maybe that'll be a separate conversation. But now I think that's happening with like these engineers, right? The biggest news is Meta and Mark Zuckerberg is offering these insane. I think the latest one I saw was Apple's chief engineer received a $300 million package to shift over to Meta.
Yeah, and I think
is this like the new wave of superstars that we're seeing?
I think to add to that, I think before Sam Altman was saying that Zuckerberg was trying to poach his talent and offering these like $100 million signing bonuses and things like that, which is unreal, the numbers. So
there's huge money at play for the companies that figure these things out. Like you can look at like Palantir, for example, and their valuations, stock prices, and what they've been doing. And they've been at it for a long time. The underlying math and statistics and things that go into making these LLMs do what they do is very, very complicated. And even me, who's in it, like once I start peeling back the layers of the onion and of how the whole thing works, at some point you're like, Jesus, it just keeps going. Like eventually we're just going to get to basic function math and logarithmic curves and things like that and transformers. Like eventually we'll get down there, but there's a lot of layers of the onion between my chat interface and that. And most people don't understand it. There's a few select people that do know how that all comes together. And yeah, those people, because having those people means that your agent is that much more effective. And if you win the agent wars, yeah, it's worth insane money. Like think about like the search wars. That's the thing it reminds me of like, you know, Ask Jeeves and Yahoo and Google.
Ask Jeeves.
Like think how much in retrospect, I don't think they knew at the time just how much money that was worth. Because if you won the search battle, you won the ad battle. If you win the ad battle, you're now Google. And so the stakes are extraordinary. And I think people, you know, are applying those lessons from that age going like, we have got to win this. It's an existential sort of conversation as a company. Like let me ask you this, does Meta exist in 5 years if they're not in like at the top of the AI game?
Yeah, I mean, probably.
That's a great question.
Yeah, probably not. I don't think any company exists in 5 to 10 years.
I might say something crazy, but I think Google's at risk if ChatGPT or one of these other AI tools become the top, you know, AI.
Yeah, Gemini is good, but it's not the best one.
But similar to, like you just mentioned, similar to the Ask Jeeves days, right? Because I remember using Ask Jeeves back in the day, and now I don't even, does it exist? I don't know. So similar to that, do you kind of foresee a lot of these, like what are now LLMs, just kind of phasing off and going away because the top two surface?
I mean, that's the trend in most business.
Or you get like an aggregator that
there's
aggregates
consolidation.
all these
Well,
LLMs.
I mean, think it through, right? The people that own those companies, they're all to some degree looking for exits and consolidation and market share. All those market forces work to consolidate. Now, the interesting problem is as you consolidate, you start to run into innovator's dilemma, which is the bigger and more successful you are, the more likely that you've ingrained behaviors and motivations that are not successful for whatever comes next. So Google, they're so huge, they've gotten so big and had so much success that they're going to have a harder time pivoting to whatever comes next than, let's say, you know, OpenAI or you know, the smaller groups, because they don't have legacy behaviors for legacy problems to overcome.
But is that not just like solved by just acquiring them outright and just letting them be their own entity, which has been like
it's an interesting conversation because like Microsoft, that's what they're trying to do, right? Microsoft was we could argue that they were somewhat in decline versus the Googles and things, but now they've been heavily the biggest investors in OpenAI and things like that. So they're trying to acquire their way out, but they're also, if you notice, keeping their distance. They're not like buying.
They still have their
OpenAI.
Copilot that they're trying to do something.
They have
with.
their own separate stuff, and so they're trying to. It's an interesting play. We'll see if it works out for them. Like because they are huge, but they're making. I think they recognize it, and so they're trying to do things to overcome that. You know, does Google figure that out? Who figures that out is a big, interesting question. But it's like the GEs and all the huge companies of the past, right? Like it's the same thing. That cycle of companies getting enormous and then something changing, whether it's electric vehicles or AI or whatever, or you know, cell phones and all these different things, then the landscape changes. And some of those big companies will be able to pivot and some of them won't.
Just to wrap this conversation on AI, Greg, I want to, and team, I want to kind of talk through this World Economic Forum because I've been reading about this and I think it's pretty fascinating being in recruiting, kind of being in the space of, growth in general. The World Economic Forum has made headlines with a bold prediction. So they think by 2030, essentially, AI will result in a net gain of 78 million jobs. It's a super optimistic forecast, and it paints kind of like a bright future, right? So I want to know, Greg, a lot of people, when they think of AI, there's a lot of fear in terms of it replacing and taking a lot of jobs and us kind of being displaced, humans in general. Do you have a more optimistic view, or are you also pessimistic in what might happen? And how do you feel about like their bold prediction?
I would say I'm on the optimistic side. I mean, this is pretty optimistic, like heavily optimistic, I would say. in how fast things happen. I think we as humans tend to. It's funny when we talk about the past, we're always like, oh, that happened so fast. And then when we talk about the future, we say things are going to happen faster than they do every single time. Like we always assume things are going to happen faster than they do looking forward. Yet we always talk about in the past, things happen faster than we, for whatever reason. It's just like a part of our perceptions. So when it comes to AI, there's the macro and the micro level. At the micro level for individual people and individual jobs, like AI is going to take my job stuff. Yes, we've talked about it before, like the individual person can do more with AI, which means you need less people. However, there's another counteracting force, which is, let's use movies as an example. Like say we've got a $100 million budget to make a movie. And in the land before AI, you've seen $100 million movies before, they are what they are. In the future, let's say with AI, I can make that same movie with $50 million. Okay, cool. We've lost some jobs in that situation. The problem is, or the counteracting force is, if I think I can make $1 billion off of a $100 million investment, and part of it is I need to be competing with other movies, then I'm going to spend the $100 million bucks, and just the movie's going to be better because my people are all going to be using AI. And so instead of spending 50 to get a $100 million movie, I'm going to spend $100 million to get a $200 million quality movie. Like, so the bar is going to get higher, meaning, if before I needed 10 people to do this, and now I only need 5 people to do the same thing. Well, what's actually going to happen is I'm going to still have 10 people, or maybe I'll have 9 people, but the bar is now here. And so the quality of the outputs and deliverables and the amount of value that we're creating goes up. It's not like just a net reduction where we're saying, okay, yep, the jobs are gone because the AI is going to do it. It's like, well, okay, the AI is going to let us do more and better, and so the bar gets higher. And so that's something I think about when it comes to this sort of conversation. And then when we look at it at the biggest level, like the biggest, most macro level, AI is going to be really good at doing the non-value added stuff that we spend time on. So pushing forms around and doing really dull jobs that are kind of the same all the time. Automation, it's really going to be really good at that. And so in theory, the people that are left are creating more value, and just economically, there should be more value and less waste and less just whatever BS in these various economies around the world. And so I think it is going to be a net gain.
It's interesting because there are different perspectives on this, the AI doom versus AI boom, right? That's kind of how a lot of people will position it. And, I'm not versed enough to have a bold prediction, but I do feel like it will grow the economy and it will grow opportunities. But you do have to be somebody who leans into AI, because a lot of people aren't, right? A lot of people are more afraid of it and they want to distance themselves because they feel like it's not something that maybe they're smart enough to understand how to use, right? So what's your perspective on that?
Yeah, I do think that might be the more important conversation, because the risk that is inherent in AI is one of class division. And the folks that are educated and have access to AI concentrating wealth even more than it's ever been before, and the people that are not being left behind even more than they ever were before. We're already on that track. Like that's already a huge, huge problem. Like we start talking about house prices and land and those types of things, and corporations that own whatever percentage of Americans' homes at this point. It's kind of messed up. Like I could see that getting worse because of AI. If AI is not democratized in the sense that everybody has equivalent access and ability to use to elevate themselves. If we leave anybody behind on from the AI wave, those people are going to be in a lot of trouble for a long, long time, because they're just going to be totally left behind.
Totally.
That's an interesting point. Do you think AI should be regulated then?
That's the tough one. Yes and no. I think there needs to be industry groups where people have these conversations and there's some transparency about what's going on. Do I want to regulate it? Like people should slow down and we should not take advantage of the amazing stuff that it can do for us? No, I don't really want to see that either. But this is that, see, now I'm being persona number 2. I don't have the right answer. There's no yes, we should slow down, or no, we should have no regulations, go faster. The answer is somewhere in the middle. It's like a nuanced answer. And so, yeah, I don't think I have that figured out, but I do think there needs to be conversations and there needs to be transparency. If people are doing stuff behind closed doors, that's where I think there's more risk.
So what does accessibility to AI look like? Is it as simple as just having a smartphone?
Could be, yeah. Well, so for example, there's
that
already
an internet.
True.
but there's already differentiation. Like you and I think we both pay for the advanced models,
Yep.
right? We spend the money to get the
Yeah.
best, latest, and greatest, and other people don't have,
Technically, that class division already exists
Yeah.
in the form that, with subscription, you're getting access to a better model than the free model,
That's true.
right? So imagine if now ChatGPT, I think, is $20 a month. Imagine it's $200 a month, right?
Well, yeah,
Like,
the more premium
how-
packages.
how many people could afford that? Like, think of it just as like a gym membership, right? You have your Equinox, you got your Lifetime, then you got your Planet Fitness.
But in that
It's like $5 a month, isn't it?
well, in that analogy, there are
But you
people
can still
who
get a
don't make me
workout.
read.
You can
Listen,
still get a workout. out
here,
of it.
here,
The
in-
honk alarm.
in that analogy, like he's saying, there are people who are in great shape who don't even pay a membership fee to a gym because they work out in their own either home gym or they literally just run outside.
True.
Is there
But
that?
if you're thinking about gym just strictly from a perspective of working out, I agree with you. But I met Tommy at the gym, and indirectly I met you through Tommy. So to me, the gym was just more than a place to work out, right? That's where I met other individuals as well, and I've built a lot of relationships that have benefited me personally as a result of it, right? So it's not, if you're looking at it strictly from like, are there going to be weights? Yeah. So same thing. Is there going to be information? There's going to be information on the free model, right? How does that information react with you, and what is the capability? Like, what are you capable of on the free model versus the paid model? I think that's the difference.
I don't think of it about Equinox versus 24-hour fitness. Think of it about I've got a $1,000 fitness budget versus you've got a $100 fitness budget for the month. If I want to blow my budget on soft towels, I can. That may not be the best way of getting fit if that's the metric we're going for. But if I can spend it on a personal trainer, I can spend it on supplements, I can spend it on these types of things that will actually make a difference, I'm at a massive advantage. And then when it comes to the AI conversation, we are all in a privileged position to be sitting here having this conversation and be in tech jobs where we are exposed to this. I have friends that work in restaurants. They got no opportunity to talk about AI at work. They're working at Texas Roadhouse. And then, I talk to them and they're like, so what's the latest with this AI stuff?
So what is your simple kind of advice? Not simple, but what is something that could potentially cut through to that type of service worker or just like the everyday person?
I mean, they've got to use it in their own development. Like, so if they're thinking about, going to school or learning a skill, like make AI part of that and try to stay up on top of it as best you can.
Are the free versions at least enough to help with that pursuit?
I think so. Like, I don't think the delta between the expensive and the free is not so great right now that it's like but it's a trend, to Sujan's point. Like it's going that direction. And then the thing we were talking about earlier, which I think actually becomes a more important point, is how present is AI in your life, right? Meaning, the more access to AI and the more you use it, the bigger the advantage you have. And the way to get more access to AI is going to be gadgets and devices and glasses and these things that cost more and more money. And so the people that have money to buy the AI glasses from Meta or whatever, and then they have it all the time, have this ever-present advantage because they have the funding to do that. And so this idea, like the true power of AI, we haven't really seen yet because we're still dealing with old school interfaces. We're talking to it. We've got chat. It's not totally ubiquitous yet. Like, I think AI is going to get to the level where it's in your glasses. It's seeing everything you're seeing. It's talking to you in your mic. I mean, Elon's going to put a chip in your brain that lets you talk to Grok. Like, you're going to have a Grok chip in your brain. Like, that's coming.
Aaron's going to be the first one.
Yeah.
You'd get that.
I'm literally going to, have no more friends and it's just going to be me, myself, and I and Grok.
You're going to be in bed with Grok.
I'm going to be like, it's going to be whispering to you from your brain.
I'm going to be like, you're so funny. No, you're funny. No, you're funny. Just to myself all day.
I was really surprised. I have a friend that lives in Turkey, and Turkey's minimum wage is like $400 a month. The lira doesn't go as far as the dollar, but their community and their circle, everyone over there is using ChatGPT. Maybe not the paid version, probably the free version, but still, I was like shocked that they're telling me that they use this daily. So it has a lot of reach, like worldwide reach, that I'm surprised to hear about.
And I hope that continues and that everybody we do have pretty ubiquitous and even access. But I mean, realistically, like when we start getting the stuff I'm talking about, like where we're talking about putting chips in brains and stuff, and the people that have the chip end up having these advantages, those things are going to get, stradiated by economic factors.
I do think
But even if we get the chip, we're still not going to compete with the robot ChatGPT, right? Like the robotic version.
I don't know, man. The robot, that's an interesting one.
Well, Grok did, Elon said that he was going to integrate Grok with that like robot thing that he has.
100%. But so this gets back to the other thing we're talking about, right? So computer vision is one of those things that's incredibly complicated, and we all completely underestimate the complexity of, like, I'm just thinking about moving my hands and my fingers in this space, and all of the thing that just happened for me to do this little hand motion without hitting the mic, with doing it in a way that makes sense with my conversation, doing it so the fingers all move, and all these things that are just happen without me even thinking about any of the layers of that. And I have no way of describing how any of that works or why I know how to do it. And we're expecting a robot like to be able to do that and learn that. And then, so computer vision has been this outstanding challenge. It's the reason why self-driving cars have been such a hard problem. Never mind, Eli's trying to do it the hard way with actual like video. He's like, well, humans got 2 eyes. I should just have 2 cameras and it should work, right? And he's not wrong. Yeah, there is clearly a way to make that work, but it's just incredibly hard.
it's the processing, right? That's the most difficult
It's the
part.
processing, and then you got people going with the LiDAR versions, which is different types of data, different modalities.
Waymo, I believe, uses LiDAR.
But then it's interesting because then you look at Waymo and it's got all these like spinning, crazy, bulbous, weird looking things on it, and it's like, that can't be cheap. And like, is that how we have to do this? But that challenge, the challenge of computer vision, is, I think, has been consistently underestimated throughout, however many decades, right? We thought we would have this solved a long time ago. Elon bet Tesla's direction on that. That challenge, which is going to continue to be hard, combined with the robotics challenge of how do I get an actual physical machine that has the fidelity to do all these motions, and then can combine that with the computer vision, combining that with the actual AI stuff. I mean, that's what you need to do to get to this ability to replace a human worker in a factory, or a welder like that. I think that is very far away.
Is it crazy to think that AI is completely going to like eliminate all the boundaries we have in the world? Like, today we have this like concept like countries and borders and resources in one place, right? Like with AI, that kind of all gets evened out, right? Like you always thought like America, you had better resources, you had better infrastructure. Now everybody's got the resource to go create that, with AI. Is it crazy to think that, hey man, like if I want to hire somebody, like why am I looking in Texas? Like I could go look in Africa, Asia, Europe, right? Like they've got all the same resources. Like could that be like the future, that AI gets us to, back to Pangea, where we're...
I don't know. I mean, that gets into can we actually ever achieve like the United Federation of Planets from Star Trek? Like where it's like Earth is under one government.
And Bitcoin's the currency.
Yeah, Bitcoin's like, can we get there before we blow ourselves up? I don't know, man. I hope so. Yeah. I mean, on the same time, I'm kind of with Elon, like, hey, get me over to Mars as my backup plan, because I don't trust all these other MFers that I live with on this planet. Yeah. There's too many people with too many different motivations, and power, corrupts. It just does.
But if there's like a winner, right? Like if there's a winner in this AI race.
But what does it take to get a winner? What does that mean? Does it mean you conquered everybody?
What does that mean? I think to us, it just means that kind of like how Google was the search engine for us, right? And like how everything, like the word Google was synonymous with searching for something, looking up information, right? Could there be a company like, ChatGPT was the first one. So there is some level like ChatGPT is synonymous with AI, right? When people say, hey, like, go find in ChatGPT, they don't necessarily mean ChatGPT, they just mean you use AI. So could we ever get to a point where, there is a company that's like a go-to, or there's an aggregator in some capacity with all these LLMs, and if they're controlling the flow, or if that's where people are going to for access to information, they control like you said, the ad, they control what information is then given to them. That's a lot of power.
Yeah, and that gets into that whole governance conversation. Like
Yeah.
if someone, if let's say that's one of the chats wins, I don't think it'll be Chat GPT because 4 syllables is just too many. We need somebody with a shorter name.
Yeah.
If let's say they won, right, and they become the 80% of the market is all Chat GPT, then they have this, and then they go into the revenue model, like
Sure.
where now a lot of it's all speculation, the valuations and things like that. Now they're just in, okay, now we're just farming revenue. Well, now those motivations to make the best thing and win, it suddenly becomes, okay, how do I make the most money?
Yeah.
And to make the most money, I might tweak the information or go with the ad. I suddenly get this conflict of interest.
That, right? Like who's
Right.
regulating that?
Like-
then like there's now we've got AI that's creating videos, like realistic videos that you can't, the only way you would be able to decipher is because the worst part of like the sides coming out with all like the stereotypes and all that.
There's a lot
I
of
have
those.
a crazy
I mean,
idea
they're
about that.
hilarious. They're like so funny.
Well, actually, I wanted to bring up. Well, I'll let you go first.
Well, there's 2 ideas I want to get out there because I think these are interesting. Is what you were just talking about is like today people pay for impressions, right? What if you pay for weights? Meaning, what if I, as a brand, I can pay one of these providers to weight my brand or my product a little more heavily to bias the LLM towards it? Like, can I pay for that service? Like that's a scary thought. I'm sure it's going to happen, and we're probably going to have to figure out how to make it transparent, and regulated, and those sorts of things. The other thing that you can do, which is
interesting.
really interesting with the video conversation, is what if, because we know that AI can generate video very quickly and it's only going to get better. What if in your favorite movie, I could even go back to past movies and I can replace all the product placement with current brands. So let's go, like, we'll take Back to the Future. And I forget if that was like Pepsi or Coke or
like a
whatever.
Titanic, and you gotta.
Right. What if I could get AI to, based on who is watching and your preferences, replace all the product placement with new stuff?
That's wild.
Right. So like even like the cars or whatever, like let's say suddenly Back to the Future, maybe I forget which way it was, if it was all Coke or Pepsi or whatever. It's switched, or it's something else, or it's like whenever one of those.
It's the local coffee shop.
What's that water called?
Prime.
The new one, the fancy water that everybody drinks, the bubble water.
The Mountain Valley Springs. or the-
Saratoga.
Topo Chico, Saratoga.
Topo Chico, yeah. What if suddenly, in Back to the Future, there's Topo Chico, everybody's drinking Topo Chico.
Yeah.
Like you could totally do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You could do like geolocation wise in like a local coffee shop can have their coffee.
I mean, have you heard of like
You could be
Tung Tung
watching it
Sahur?
and I'm watching it and it's different.
well, I want to actually play something because this kind of I thought this happened
That's
recently.
like the original AI universe. Have you heard of the Italian Tung 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 Sahur universe? Oh man,
I'm curious.
it gets wild.
What is this? Tell me more about this.
This is old, Sujan. We can't even talk about it anymore. This is so old.
But if we can go back, we got to talk about books like Accelerando and all like the legacy cyberpunk stuff, and authors like Neil Stephenson that were imagining these things. Like, okay, so there's a relatively new book called The Coming Wave by Mustafa Suleyman, one of the guys behind DeepMind. And this was written like 2 years ago, and he's talking about the intersection of AI with
The
3D
Microsoft
printing
guy.
and all. Yes, I think he was. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Okay, got it.
But he's talking about these intersection of these things, and it's this. It is the power that's going to come with combining AI with 3D printing and the spread of this knowledge and bad actors and all this stuff. Very interesting stuff. Neil Stephenson, author, he was like an MIT dropout, written a ton of really cool sci-fi books. Wrote a book called The Diamond Age, I think back in the late 90s, early 2000s, that specifically dealt with that. It's like, hey, what is society like when 3D printing is ubiquitous and AI is ubiquitous? And one of his constructs, for example, was every child, you didn't go to school, you were just given a book. And this book was connected to AI and had the ability to 3D print things. And that was your entire education was contained in this book. And your home had a 3D printer for anything you wanted, and everything was based on licenses and ideas and the economy. Like all these things are covered way back. So it's really interesting to go back and look at some of that stuff through this lens. And it's also interesting as someone who's been interested in these topics for a very long time, like a lot of people are coming to it going like, oh, this is crazy and new. And it's like, there's a lot of really smart people that have been thinking about this kind of stuff for a long time.
For sure. That sci-fi stuff freaks me out because a lot of it ends up coming true. I think during COVID time when we were watching V for Vendetta, remember that? I mean, it was insane. I think it was the year 2020 in V for Vendetta when they made it however many years ago that there was going to be a virus and and everyone's going to get locked up, and there's going to be a curfew, and you can't do this, and you can't do that. Obviously, that's an outlier because they got the date right, and all that kind of stuff could have been coincidence. But just the making a sci-fi movie and then seeing it come true is insane.
Go watch Tron again.
Yeah.
Even that. Like, and I'm gonna try to blow your minds briefly here. So a lot of the AI, and cyberpunk and sci-fi stuff that goes into the future comes up with this concept of, hey, once the AI is good enough, you can create copies of yourself and create copies of yourself that are going to go do stuff for you, right? And so I can create a copy of me and I say, hey, go research stocks, or create a copy of me, go learn about this. What are we doing today with the AI chatbots? You guys have probably all done this, which you say, hey, create this email in the style of my writing. Copy me. Do this thing as if you were me. So suddenly, how many steps are we away from this idea that we can have the AI create these replicants of ourselves? So like we're going down that path. It's really
I actually, to speak on that, just did this recently with Grok because of the new release and its integration with Twitter, with X, right? I asked it to go read all my old tweets and draft a new tweet as me. And on top of that, make it a little better and more consistent so I can raise my following, right? And it started drafting a tweet, and the first tweet that I drafted, it goes, yeah, Cooper Flag is good and all, but Dumont is still ugly as fuck. I was like, that's me.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
I was using it last night and it kind of scared me because I had earlier this week,
catching strays from AI.
Earlier this week, I had talked about it with this idea related to the protocol between like a fancy front end and this agentic AI and how we would do that. And like I had this concept, but I hadn't really seen any before, but I talked with AI about it and then I kind of forgot about it. And then last night I was working on a data dictionary, like all variables, so it give it context so it knew what it was. And I said, hey, can you give me quick definitions for this data dictionary, just so for context? And without me asking it, it did that. And it's like, oh, and here's the groups and this other concept that we talked about 2 days ago. I did that. I just in there. And I was like, oh crap, it's smarter than I am.
Yeah.
It remembered the thing that I had talked about and like just did it. And I was like, oh crap. Like now on the one hand, I'm like, this is awesome, is now I have this thing that's like better than anything I've seen. It's like this new idea. It's really cool. But now I'm scared because I might have forgotten about it if the AI hadn't like done that for me and reminded me and like did the thing. I was like, this is.
I guess like my question here for you, Greg, is like, is there an immediate like protection that you have to have around older people, maybe in your family life or people around you, to not get scammed or get bamboozled because of how advanced some of this AI stuff is getting? Do you have any like feelings or opinions there?
The immediate thing that comes to mind harkens back to that last conversation, which is the ability to have ubiquitous AI. So you can almost have an AI on your shoulder looking at what you're looking at to tell you that that's generated. Like so
a soldier.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, so if you're wearing the glasses and you've got Grok on your head, on your face, and you're looking at a video, it might be able to tell you, hey, that's fake, right? Versus you might not recognize it, right? So it comes down to that access conversation, that whole thing.
That's going to be crazy.
But then, how did my parents, thinking about my parents? Yeah, I don't know. My dad gave up programming the VCR decades ago. Like he's just, I don't know.
He's not consuming content, is he? Like he's not.
Oh, he's retired. He listens to all the hard left wing. He's like a hard left wing guy.
Got it.
So he consumes all of the stuff and is generally outraged about everything on the right. And you have to, it's like you got to try to get him back to the middle and be like, okay, there's two sides. Not everybody on the right is evil. Like
he's not seeing those AI generated videos of a little Indian boy saying, like, trying to scam someone, and then the dad walking in is like, "Oh, I'm proud of you. Your very first scam." Have you seen that?
This house comes with a shower. Can we remove it?
Actually, to be honest, probably the only solution is to have conversations. Like, it's a good reason to be talking to your parents or your grandparents. Like, make sure you're talking.
But old people have been like getting tricked for a long time.
I know, but
Even
now
before
it's
AI.
like, bro.
Fox News.
Well, that's true.